Picture the ultimate utopian setup, a pristine environment meticulously calibrated for human flourishing. But right in the center of this flawless design, there is a highly specific restriction, a tree that is completely off-limits. Looking at the commentary, we see why this restriction existed. The note explains God gave Adam the freedom to choose. Without it, Adam would be a prisoner, and his obedience completely hollow. You need the option to disobey for compliance to mean anything, and humanity wasn't meant to navigate this responsibility alone. This character profile of Eve shows she was the final, equal piece of the creation puzzle. She shared a special relationship with the Creator and held absolute co-responsibility over this new world. To build a system that supports genuine free will, you have to build in the capacity for failure. The architecture of human agency requires a terrifying vulnerability, the ability to sabotage your own existence. When that self-sabotage finally happens, it doesn't arrive as a chaotic ambush. It unfolds as a highly calculated psychological operation designed to systematically dismantle human contentment. This breakout box details the 5-part framework orchestrating this downfall. It begins with doubt and discouragement, weaponizing questions to focus on the one thing lacking, ignoring vast resources. Then, diversion, defeat, and delay warp perspective, making self-destruction appear logical and attractive. The critical lesson in this sequence is that the battle is almost always lost at the very first look. The moment mental energy fixates on the restricted item, the slide into rebellion has already started. We recognize these tactics because they haven't changed. Whenever we blow up a relationship or derail a career today, we are falling for these exact same 5 psychological steps. The instant the fruit is consumed, the narrative describes a sudden, terrifying shift in reality. The expected wisdom never arrives. Instead, they're hit with a crushing awareness of vulnerability and exposure. We often think of this ensuing guilt as a divine punishment, but the text frames it entirely differently. This note explicitly defines a guilty conscience as a built-in warning signal, exactly like a red light on a car's dashboard indicating a critical system failure. But instead of addressing the engine failure, humans instinctively try to cover up the light. Adam and Eve immediately start sewing fig leaves together, inventing a frantic, superficial fix to hide their exposure. We repeat this exact defense mechanism with our own mental health. When that internal alarm goes off, our default reaction is to mask the guilt, with layers of denial, endless distraction, and desperate self-justification. Treating the symptom by hiding while completely ignoring the underlying disease doesn't solve the problem. It only creates deep, isolating barriers that disconnect us from reality and from each other. This systemic failure reaches its peak during the subsequent confrontation in the garden. This conversation marks the absolute collapse of personal accountability. Look closely at how Adam handles being caught. He actively dodges responsibility and immediately points the finger at Eve. Worse, he tells God, "The woman you put here with me." In one breath, he blames his partner and indicts his creator. Eve demonstrates the exact same reflex. When questioned, she immediately shifts the blame downward, claiming the serpent deceived her. To understand the permanent fallout of these actions, imagine a massive, pristine sheet of plate glass. If a tiny pebble strikes that window, the entire pane instantly spiderwebs into thousands of sharp, ungatherable fragments. It makes absolutely no difference whether the glass was hit by a small pebble or a massive boulder. The structural integrity is gone, and the state of trust is permanently broken. That immediate, desperate instinct to shift the blame is the ultimate destroyer of human relationships. It takes a localized mistake and expands it outward, turning a personal failure into systemic ruin. The narrative locks in this fractured reality with severe physical consequences. The text specifically mentions painful toil and an environment that now produces thorns and thistles. The ease of Eden is completely gone. Translated into a modern context, these thorns and thistles are the daily grind. They represent the inevitable career friction, toxic workplace politics, and the endless, frustrating setbacks that define professional life. Grasping this reality is actually the secret to building incredible grit. If you step into a project expecting deep resistance, you are far less likely to quit the moment the work gets difficult. In this world, brutal friction is a guaranteed feature of the human experience. It is no longer a surprising bug. Yet right at the darkest point of the narrative, there is a totally unexpected act of provision. God replaces their flimsy, inadequate fig leaves with durable garments of skin. Even as they are sent into exile, they are protected and equipped. So the question is how we handle our own inevitable failures. When the alarm bells go off and the guilt sets in, do you reflexively sew together fig leaves and point fingers? Or do you take total ownership of your actions? True freedom and relational healing are never found by hiding among the trees. Progress only happens when we drop the excuses, step out of the shadows, and bring the shattered glass out into the light.